Five, four, three, two, and one. Number one podcast in the world. You're tuning in the Thomas Take Sports Podcast. I'm Ryan Thomas, everybody. Back again to bring you another entertaining, informative, and eccentric podcast. That's what I strive for each and every day on this show. So obviously, you can tell I'm a Buffalo guy. Everybody knows me. Some people have often called me Mr. Buffalo, which I think is the greatest nickname of all time. Outside of that, I have really enjoyed producing, creating, writing for this show, ideas and stuff that I want to talk about, and things that catch my attention. So it's no secret that I'm a Buffalo guy. I'm rocking a Buffalo Bills hat. There's plenty of Buffalo Bills clothing items in my wardrobe. There's plenty of Buffalo Sabres clothing items in my wardrobe. Bisons, they've sent me stuff for the box score stuff that I did. I got a lot of stuff. And the Sabres are a team that I have wanted to see win a Stanley Cup my entire life. Do I think it'll happen? I do. I hold out hope that we will see the Buffalo Sabres win a Stanley Cup at some point in my lifetime. I surely hope that I'm right. I surely hope that that comes to fruition and we see that one day. But it won't happen with who they currently have on their roster. That I do know, that I guarantee you. So if they kept the roster the exact same after a last place finish once again, not only do I think Buffalo would reenact the scene from Bruce Almighty, it might even be 10 times as bad as that, where Bruce Almighty, Jim Carrey, lets everybody win the lottery, and hell is like basically on Buffalo. Everything's burning, and people are flipping signs and flipping cars and things like that. If the Sabres and Jason Bottrill and Phil Housley left things the same, we would have some serious stuff going on in this city, and people be flipping you know what. So what's the strategy? Who stays, who goes, who should stay, who should go? And the answer to that is fairly simple. Get rid of the guys that say that they fall out of love with the game. Get rid of guys that are overpaid and don't play, that get hurt. Make this team even younger if you have to, while also somehow, some way getting a franchise-changing player. And according to a lot of reports, John Tavares is of huge interest to the Buffalo Sabres. The Mississauga, Ontario, born in Mississauga, Ontario, John Tavares, 27 years old, drafted first overall in 2009 by the New York Islanders, played obviously with Kyle Okposo in Long Island or whatever, New York Islanders. They've moved around a few times, stadium or arena wise. Now they play in Brooklyn, I'm pretty sure, which is really weird. I don't understand that. Used to be in the Nassau County Coliseum, if I'm not mistaken, and that was pretty cool. But John Tavares is a guy that definitely changes things for the Buffalo Sabres, among Rasmus Dahlin, among Sam Reinhart, among Jack Eichel, all those guys, Middlestat. Getting a guy like Tavares would be unreal. Really want to take you through Tavares' career thus far and go from there, because there's a lot to talk about. So his uncle is John Tavares, who is the Wayne Gretzky practically of the National Lacrosse League, and obviously played his entire career with the Buffalo Bandits. The younger Tavares credits his uncle with teaching him the importance of remaining unselfish, stating that what he learned by following his uncle with the Bandits has made him better both as a person and a hockey player. Many skills he learned in lacrosse, such as spinning off checks and battling in traffic, transferred to ice hockey and improved Tavares' abilities as a goal scorer. That's very interesting, that this kid took principles from another sport, applied it to another, and has been one of the better players in the league. Let's go through his stats and certain things that I find intriguing. Tavares petitioned to gain eligibility to play major junior in the OHL in the spring of '05, as OHL rules did not allow for players under the age of 15 to be drafted. The league introduced an exceptional player clause, allowing the 14-year-old Tavares to be drafted 1 year sooner than he would otherwise have been eligible. Consequently, Tavares is the youngest player to ever be drafted in the OHL, although Bobby Orr was signed and had played at a younger age. The Canadian Hockey League, the umbrella organization which governs major junior hockey in Canada, sent a proposal to Hockey Canada recommending that the rule be expanded across junior hockey, which eventually was granted. To date, the only 4 other players, Aaron Ekblad, Connor McDavid, Sean Day, and Joe Velino, have been granted the same status. I can go on and on, but I'm not going to really rake this through the coals type thing. I want to talk about his stats, which I hope are on here, which I don't know if they are, but yes, they are. Sweet. So with the Toronto Marlboros of the GTHL League, he played in 72 games, had 91 goals, 67 assists, 158 points on the season. He had 72 goals for the Oshawa Generals in 2006 and 2007. 45 goals, 72 goals, 40 goals, 26 goals, 32. And then he went from the Oshawa Generals to the London Knights. And his first season with the Islanders, he had 54 points in 82 games. He had 67 points in 79 games. He had 81 points in 82 games. And obviously had that 12-13 year where there was a little weird stuff. He was on SC Bern. And then obviously, these last couple years, he's had 28 and 24 goals. So he's a player that has definitely got elite skill. I mean, there's no doubt about it. He's ranked. He's in the conversation among one of the better puck handling players in the National Hockey League. So if the question is, does he make the Buffalo Sabres better? I would sure hope so, given who they currently have on the roster. And I'm not going to name names. Yes, I am going to name names. Zach Bogosian, guys that have been hurt that are not physically able to play. And yet they are still on this team, still expected to do something for the team. And they're not doing anything for the team except taking up oxygen space and space on the bench or space on the bus or on the plane or whatever it is that they're using to commute throughout the season. What if they had one of those planes like Major League? At one point they did, apparently, and that's why Alexander McGillney needed to be traded, because he was tired of flying or needed a bus and then was traded. Low percentage of games played, and they're paid quite a bit of money, and I am not for that anymore. If they really want to get better, if they want to get better and they've done it by getting younger players, get more younger players. Get rid of these guys that are old, that cannot stay healthy long enough to breathe. Like they cannot stay healthy. Guys like Bogosian, guys that say they've fallen out of love with the game. Ryan O'Reilly, I went after him so badly in one of the podcast episodes about his statements after the season was over in the press conference in the locker room or whatever. I kind of didn't really feel all that bad, because we're paying you X amount of millions of dollars. You better damn well not fall out of love with the game. You have no reason to fall out of love with the game. Does it suck losing? 100%. Does it suck losing knowing that Ryan O'Reilly actually didn't have a bad season last year stats-wise? He won a lot of face-offs. He's a player that the Sabres actually need in that regard. But they do not need a player that says he doesn't want to play. He's fallen out of love with that stigma, that Eeyore-like emotion, or emotionless Eeyore emotion, that makes sense, does not help. Samuel White says we also got rid of the only guy with a spark in Evander Kane, who has looked pretty good as a member of the San Jose Sharks, if I might add. Oh, I mean, really, really, the Evander Kane situation. I've heard a lot of things, and I don't want to speculate, but I've heard things that are not good, and then I've heard things that those things are not true. So who knows? But they always have to point the blame at somebody. And one guy that I thought of recently that they let go that I thought was really good, a really good player that they could have built around for a long time was Tyler Myers. Why did they get rid of Tyler Myers? They got rid of Tyler Myers because he was uh, progressively getting worse. But they also failed to realize the reason why Tyler Myers was progressively getting worse was because the team was progressively getting worse. It was a team effect on the decisions that Darcy Regier made to open things up with their draft picks that Tim Murray eventually went on to use very poorly and bury the team longer in a dark hole than what they've already been in. And I think the Sabres will turn it around. I think Rasmus Dahlin is going to be huge for that. And I also think that Phil Housley and Jason Bottrill are like that. They're a really good unit. I think it's really important to have a GM and a coach that are on the same page, that know what they want, know what type of system that they want to run. Sabres want to be an up-tempo, fast up the ice, exchanging the puck, defensive to offensive zone style. And Samuel White mentions we also had the brilliant move of getting rid of Chris Drury and Danny Briere. June 1st, 2007. June 1st, 2006, or June 1st, 2007. I think it was actually June 2006, if I'm not mistaken. Let me look that up, actually. Oh, it was 2007. I was right the first time. 2007, June 1st, I was how old was I? I was 16 years old, or how old was I? 15? Jeez, I can't even do math right now. Anyway, can't even do math right now. My brain is like just so tired. I was at my buddy Tom's house. I was 15. Jeez, what the heck? I was at my buddy Tom's house, Tom Frew, and we went swimming. I remember. And at the time, before we went in the swimming pool, it was Briere, Drury on the free agency. Vanek was a restricted free agent, which meant that if a team had an offer for him, we had the right to match it. And we go swimming, we're playing football in the pool or whatever. I get out of the pool. It's about an hour later, and Briere was gone, Drury was gone, and the Edmonton Oilers had a $56 million offer sheet to Thomas Vanek, who in Danny Briere's book wrote about how the one thing that he really never thought of until years later, and I never thought of it until years later either. I never thought of this concept until years later either. They could have re-signed Danny Briere for a decent deal. I think it was like 5 years, $25 million. Chris Drury was going to be a 3-year deal. That was what they'd offered to him. That's what he accepted. He wanted to stay in Buffalo, but Buffalo didn't send the final paperwork in to make that deal happen, and Chris Drury wasn't waiting around. Plus, he had an offer from the team that he rooted for as a child, as a kid growing up in the New York Rangers. He actually works for the New York Rangers now as a high-ranking executive. They could have re-signed Briere and Jury for less money than what they accepted to match for Thomas Vanek. It was literally the worst transaction day in Buffalo Sabres history, in my opinion. You lose Briere, you lose Jury, you gain Vanek at a steep, really, really, really steep price. Granted, he did have over 40 goals one season with those guys, but it was with Briere and Jury that made him better. And then they leave, and you expect that production to remain the same. It didn't remain the same. Meanwhile, they hodgepodge trade all these players off their team. Tyler Myers being one of them, who is a pretty damn good defenseman. I watched the game last night and I thought, he looks great. Why did they get rid of him? There's really no reason for it. The only reason was that he had the Rookie of the Year trophy in his office for the NHL, and after that, he didn't play as well. He didn't play as well because the team was terrible. Meanwhile, you trade him in a package to get Evander Kane, who you also point the finger at in trade, and Zach Bogosian, who had surgery on his hip. What is he, 88 years old? On his hip? Oh, I understand that hockey is brutal and that these guys get hurt, but if a hockey player is having surgery on his hip, chances are he should not be playing hockey anymore. That was terrible. And I'm just being honest. I hate to sound like a talking head, but come on. He had surgery on his hip. It's not, I'm not a doctor, but I do know that having surgery on your hip is bad. That's not good. That's not good at all. They paid Kyle Okposo a lot of money, and he's had some health problems. I actually feel sorry for the gent, because I think, unlike Ryan O'Reilly, he actually gives a crap and wants to show true effort, but there's only so much in the gas tank. He's got something going on and he's coming off I'm pretty sure he had surgery on that. So I'm not ready to throw him under the bus just yet. I'm not ready to do that. I am ready to trade Ryan O'Reilly, though. I've been ready to do that since he got here, really. I wondered for a long time, a long time meaning that summer, the summer of that draft, where they get Eichel, they get O'Reilly. And Colorado trades O'Reilly. We trade them. They trade us O'Reilly and Jamie McGinn, who I also liked that the Sabres got rid of. And we trade them Nikita Zadorov, young defenseman. We also trade them Mikhail Grigorenko, and I think we traded him another piece. I can't remember who it was, but maybe not. Maybe it was just a 2-for-2. And Zadorov is still there, still playing D on the blue line, and Grigorenko is in the Russian Hockey League, which Maxim Afinogenov is still playing. I did not know that. I saw on Twitter today he signed with the KHL for his hometown team, a 2-year deal. I didn't know that. I'm getting texts from people about my comments on O'Reilly. I'm sorry, guys, but come on. I mean, I wondered why he was even traded here. Wondered why he was even traded here for a while. Thought, why would Colorado get rid of a player like that? Now I know why. Now I get it. And one thing I can't say about Johnny Tavares is this. I've never seen anyone say, or have never been given the inclination that he is lazy or that he doesn't care about the game. I actually think that guy is fully invested in the game of hockey. I think he's actually bored playing on the team that he's playing on because he knows that, much like the Sabres of years past, their team is dwindling. They're not going anywhere. There's no direction. They don't have a Hall of Fame NHL player as a coach. I think Phil Housley is really a huge bargaining chip for them in terms of negotiations and bringing players in. Players around the league highly respect Phil Housley for the career that he had and for the coaching career that he has had. More so, to be quite honest, for the coaching career because of what he did in Nashville. He reinvigorated the culture of that team with their defense, and their defense was the main reason why they got there to the Stanley Cup. I mean, they have some great offensive players too, but that defense was nasty, really nasty. So you get Dahlin, you get Johnny Tavares, you get rid of all the cancers and the guys that do not want to get paid to play hockey. They just want to get paid. That's the difference. Wanting to get paid to play hockey and play hockey hard and just wanting to get paid. I'm Ryan Thomas. It was the Thomas Take on John Tavares possibly heading to the Buffalo Sabres. Take care, everybody. I really hope that this happens, by the way. I really do.